What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's Brendan, and I'm BManX45, and today we're coming at you with another video. We have a review of the new Thor: Love and Thunder movie. This is the fourth installment of the Thor series for the new MCU Phase 4, or Phase Bore, if some people like to say that. Um, just because the movies so far haven't been overly well received. It is the sixth installment of the Phase 4, starting with Black Widow, Shang-Chi, The Eternals, which I did not see in theaters, and apparently that was a good decision. The Spider-Man, the third Spider-Man, which was the best of all the movies and had the most support, and was a wonderful movie. And then Doctor Strange being the fifth, which was again not as well received, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed a bit of it and stuff like that. And now we have the sixth movie, which is Thor. So we're gonna go into it. We're gonna get into some spoilers, and I will warn you when we do that. Right now, I'm just gonna give an overall impression of the movie. I enjoyed the movie immensely. I enjoyed the music. I enjoyed the humor. I enjoyed the story and what it brought to the story of Thor. And again, always as always, Chris Hemsworth does a masterful job in this role, and I enjoyed his performances. I enjoyed Natalie Portman's. I enjoyed Christian Bale as the bad guy. I really enjoyed that a lot. And I think it was an overall good movie, and I think it'll probably see some good results. I know it did not start out. It actually had a lower box office opening than Doctor Strange, but I think it's picked up for that in the second and third day. So we'll see how that translates in the future. So here I'm on IMDb, and I don't put any credence in these sites anyways. It's just kind of a snapshot, just an idea. IMDb is giving a 7 out of 10. And over here on Rotten Tomatoes, yeah, Rotten Tomatoes isn't that great. It's a kind of a crapshoot, but they're giving it and let's forget about the 68, because I think that's the critic score, and the critics are all bought and paid for, and they don't really matter anyways. But let's look at that audience score. So that audience score is sitting pretty high, 81%, 5,000 verified ratings. So I think people are enjoying this. So I mean, that's, to me, and we'll see how that changes in the future. Something about this movie that I was really surprised by the way they went with it. I thought they were going to do something completely different. I was worried about it. I was worried about how it was going to affect the universe, and I was just worried that they were trying to replace Thor with Mighty Thor. People were calling her female Thor, but now I'll say Mighty Thor, because I thought Natalie Portman did a really good job in this role, and I was really appreciative of how they did that. And I think that, yeah, no, like it's funny. Taika Waititi was like kind of like saying crap against fans when honestly he should have just said nothing, because the movie spoke for itself, and he didn't need to say stuff like that, because I think that they did a decent job, and I think it was a really solid movie. I would recommend going and seeing it. If you like superhero movies, if you like the humor. If you're a hardcore fan, you might not like this. I'm not a comic book reader, so I can't, really say that I know the lore, or that I am like in tune with what the character of Thor is like or should be like. So I would generally say that, like if you're a hardcore fan, maybe you're not gonna enjoy it as much. But if you don't really care about going to movies and stuff like that, if you don't care, about spending your money and stuff like that, I'd give it a shot. But that's your decision. I have my opinion, you have yours. I'm gonna like it. If you don't like it, or if you really like it, that's great. So let's get into now. We're gonna go into the spoilers. So this is gonna be the spoiler zone. We're gonna discuss the movie in a little bit of quick detail. So this is the time that you can turn off the movie if you haven't seen the movie and you don't want spoilers. Turn this video off, come back, and we can watch it later. So, okay, you have Thor: Love and Thunder. It's set after the events of Endgame. Thor's got back into shape. He's going around the galaxy with the Guardians of the Galaxy, trying to kind of, protect people and fighting, because that's what he's good at. He's, fighting for the little guy. He's kind of given up on some things. He's given up on love, um, because he doesn't feel like it's something that's going to come to him in his life. He just wants to be the guy that fights everyone's battles. And that's kind of where we're coming at. This movie's trying to get us into a place where Thor can, admit what he really wants is love. What he wants is, to be with Jane, and, and he wants to have a purpose beyond just being everyone's, Thor, we need you to help us win this battle, kind of thing, which, you know, was part of the line in the beginning. Um, and I know people are kind of getting tired. They kind of said, like, oh well, how many times do we need to see Thor, like, Thor's journey to overcome some personal failure, or to find himself, right? We saw him find himself like 4 or 5 times now. Like in the first movie, um, he had to become worthy of the power of Thor, to wield the power of Thor again. In the second movie, he had to come to grips with the fact that he didn't actually want to be the king of Asgard. He wanted to be that guy that fights for the little guy. He wanted to be the champion of people, not necessarily their king. He wanted to be a hero. The third movie, he had to come to the realization that he is not just his hammer. His hammer didn't make him Thor. He is the god of thunder. He has the power, and he can use that power to defeat his enemies and save his people. And the home Asgard wasn't Asgard wasn't the Asgardian people. The people are the people, and that's what he needed to protect, not his home, but his people. So I mean, all these different like lessons that he learned and stuff like that. I know people are getting tired of it. I definitely think this is a different lesson, though. The whole aspect of learning to look inward and actually figure, because all these other lessons he learned was what he wanted to be, who he wanted to be, but not what he wanted out of life. And I think that's the one thing that makes this a little bit different. This is what he wants out of life, and of course that's love. He wants love and connection, and to be accepted of that, and to appreciate while it lasts, and not be afraid of losing it. Which is the kind of the focus of the movie. You have Jane, who is dying of stage 4 cancer, and she's afraid. She's turned, she's tried science and medicine, and now she's turning towards magic. And so she's gone to find Mjolnir, or the hammer, because legend says it gives people health and strength, and she's thinking it can heal him. And of course, the hammer reforms for her, which is not based on her power alone. So if anyone thinks that that they're trying to say that, oh, Jane's the best ever, Thor couldn't put back the hammer together, but she could. It was more complicated than that. It was her being worthy to wield the power of Thor, because in turn she helped him become worthy. She taught him what was important to care, so that he became worthy in the first movie, and continued that with the second movie. So she, in a sense, helped Thor. Originally she helped him realize who he was. So why wouldn't she be worthy? But as another point, it was Thor's asking the hammer to always protect her, asking, and kind of making sure the hammer promised to look after her. That was the thing that brought the hammer together, to give her the power that she had. So it was kind of their bond that created that opportunity for her to wield the power of Thor, not just her own amazingness, which is a little bit more special, because it's their bond, their love that created that, not just her being the bestest ever, which is something that they have done with a lot of the franchises now, and it's really fake. And I felt like this was not that way. And then we go into the whole thing with Christian Bale's character, kind of a tortured villain. His daughter died. He stayed faithful to the gods, just to find out that the gods were greedy and selfish, and ended up, you getting the sword of darkness, basically, that cursed him but gave him the power to kill the gods. And that was his life goal. Is he lost his daughter, and now he's going to kill all these false, fake gods that just don't care, because of what happened to his people, what happened to his daughter. And then he starts killing gods, You have Sif call Thor away from the Guardians as they go into the galaxy to help all these other people who are in distress, and he goes off to see her and finds out about the God Killer and that he's going after Asgard, and comes back to Earth, to help his people, only to meet up with Jane and find out that she now wields the power of Thor, as and then the bad guy kidnaps a bunch of the kids, takes them away, and Thor has to go with Jane and Valkyrie and rescue them. So they try and go and put together a league. They're hoping to recruit some gods to help um, rescue the children, but the gods don't want anything to do with it. All the other gods, like Zeus and the other gods in the pantheons, they're too afraid. They want to stay where it's safe. They're greedy. They're selfish, and that continues. So they end up stealing Zeus's thunderbolt in order to facilitate the enough power needed to rescue the kids, which ends up being a trap because the bad guy needs Stormbringer to open a portal to the center of the universe to get an ancient god called Eternity, which can grant a wish to whoever reaches them first. And what he wants to do is wish that all the gods were dead, basically. So that's kind of the overall arc of the story. They have to battle against that and find a way to stop him while rescuing the kids. There's a lot of humor in it. Some people say to a fault. Sometimes it's a little bit too ridiculous. I didn't mind the humor. I didn't feel like it went too far at any given point. There were a few points. As you know, I'm not a person who believes in that whole woke mindset. So there's a few points that I felt were pointless and kind of crammed in for brownie points with people who love that diversity and politically correct stuff that is just pointless in movies and doesn't mean anything, but they think it means stuff. So meh. So you had the conversation with Valkyrie and her lost love. You had Korg telling her that they're an all male race that mates through rock holding hands and stuff like that. Really forgettable moments. And then you had the Heimdall's son Axel, who was, I think, Astrid, and so basically someone who's transitioned from a girl to a guy, and then oh, I'm Axel now. No, this is your name. Yeah, I'm Axel now. And it was just kind of a pointless conversation that really didn't need to be there. If they would have just had Heimdall's son, that would have been fine. It that didn't really do anything for the overall story to have that conversation, and it was easily forgettable and easily removable, which is probably what they're going to do in China because they don't actually care about the things that they preach. They just want the brownie points, and they just want to make money. So I think that was kind of just them being Disney and just doing whatever they can to virtue signal. But again, it didn't really take over for the overall positive of the movie, which was the story of Jane and Thor, and how their relationship was ever evolving, and even when it ended, it really didn't end, because they always wanted the same thing. They wanted each other, but they were just too afraid to admit it. We see that with her telling him about her cancer and him wanting to be with her, wanting to hurt. He wanted to spend a lifetime of hurting rather than to feel nothing at all. And that was something that was really important. I feel their interactions were very legitimate, very real, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the end. I didn't expect Jane to die. She died helping Thor defeat the bad guy. He asked her to stay because the hammer was draining her life, and he tried to go save the kids on his own. And he gave the kids the power of Thor for a limited time only, because if your parents found out, I'd be in deep crap. So limited time only, you get the power of Thor. All the kids are running around just destroying things with lightning. It was actually really awesome. That was actually really fun, and the music was great too. That made it really, really cool. And then Jane came to save him, even though he told her not to, because the hammer was draining her life even faster, and he wanted to be able to spend as much time with her, the time she had left, together. And she, I think she sensed, maybe due through their connection with the hammer, uh, she sensed uh, that he needed her help, and she went to help him. And it wasn't one of those things like, oh, he can't get the job done, without her kind of thing. She needs to come in and save him. It was very much a team effort. They needed each other to finish the battle. I think his focus was split with the kids and everything like that, and it gave the bad guy the advantage because he was narrowly focused on his one goal, which was to get through the doorway and wish all the gods dead. And so I think the battle was very well done, that they kind of both worked together to defeat him. I didn't feel like at any point that Thor was being outclassed in any way. I think it was a very like equal kind of, you know, relying on each other's strengths and weaknesses, and filling in for each other's weaknesses. And that was, I think that was very well done. And at the end, when Thor understands kind of what he wants, that love and stuff like that, he's able to turn to Christian Bale, the villain, and basically say, that's not what you really want. Vengeance is not what you want. What you want is love. You want to feel that love. You want your daughter back. You can bring her back. You don't have to punish. You don't have to kill. You can bring her back. You can choose to do the right thing. And he says, well, she'll be alone. I'm going to die. I mean, I'm you know, I'm on death's door. And Jane basically says she won't be alone because there's people like Thor out there that'll take care of her, that'll be with her. So he does the right thing, and Jane dies. And I didn't think that was going to happen, and I honestly, like, I was surprised, but I felt like it was a good call. Whether or not she comes back later on, I don't know, because it's Disney and nobody really dies in Disney, except for Mufasa. That's it. But yeah, so I definitely think that it's interesting how they did it. I like the fact that I thought it was going to be an alternate universe Jane, so I was actually really happy, surprised and happy that it was the same. It was the same Jane that we knew, and how they played that through, how she got the powers. And I think I think eventually she could come back. I don't think that would cheapen her sacrifice. I think it would be, like, it's Thor, so like the gods always have loopholes. There's loopholes upon loopholes. I don't think that would cheapen necessarily the sacrifice, depending on the way it was done and stuff like that. So I think either way, I think I'd be happy if she stays dead. Yeah, I'm happy with the sacrifice. If she comes back, I would, I really appreciate that, for him to get a chance to, to continue and have that life that he so desperately wanted. So, I mean, either way, I think they've done a really good job telling the story. I know the humor can get a little bit too much at sometimes, but I enjoyed it. I just feel like after so many movies of watching Thor be that guy, that's who he is to me. And I definitely like how Hemsworth has portrayed him. That kind of like that almost surfer dude, kind of like, yeah, kind of vibe to him at some points, but also being able to actually use his brain and figure things out when the going gets tough. And then, like I said, I know a lot of people are tired. This is the fourth movie that Thor's had to find himself. I really definitely did think it was a different journey, and I think the writers did a really great job. I don't think the Bifrost, or not the Bifrost, the Rainbow Bridge was a metaphor for pride. I think it's part of Norse mythology, and it's part of probably the comic book lore, as far as I know. And I don't think that was. I know there was a whole debate like that this is the gayest Marvel movie ever, and I honestly don't think that is. If anything, it makes fun of gay kind of culture even more. Like the whole look between Hemsworth um and Pratt was kind of like a jab a little bit. So I definitely don't think that it's what people were thinking it was. And I think if people are reading into it that way, I think they're reading a little bit too much into things. It just it I did enjoy it. I wouldn't say that it's perfect. Um, but I would say that as a movie, and I don't enjoy movies a lot anymore because I find that they're just not as well written as like TV shows and books, and I'm more into that kind of thing. That overall arcing storyline, the story is very important to me. But I really felt like the story was, you know, a big part of this, and I feel like it's going to continue. I feel like we're going to get Thor 5, and I'm hoping maybe we'll see Loki back. That'd be cool to, for him to be able to see his brother again. So we'll see. We'll see where things go from here. I won't spoil the secret endings, but I think I really appreciated what they did. I appreciate what the bond and the connection between Thor and Jane, and I think their connection really shined throughout the whole movie. And it was honestly, it was a movie about them. And then and that was important. And they sacrificed a lot for each other, and that was what was important. So I mean, I don't know what everyone else is saying about the movie, but I think it's going to be a bit of a hit, and I'm glad because I think they respected the character a lot, and they didn't degrade him in order to build up their other characters. They did that. They built them up on their own merits, and that's something that's very important with these franchises. They're so beloved and have so much history, and yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I hope you guys will enjoy it too. If you guys decide to go see it in theaters, great. If not, you can watch it later, stream it, watch a friend's version of it. But I think it's worth a watch, and I don't know ratings. We'll give this a. I think I'm right with IMDb. I think 7, 8 out of 10. So how I would rate it, and like I said, I'm a generous person, so I mean maybe a little bit lower than that, but for a real critic, but that's just me. I love movies. I'm very nice about them. Hey, I love Super Mario Bros. With Bob Hopkins and John Leguizamo. I don't think I ever say his name right. Um, but it's a terrible movie. It's an absolutely terrible movie, but I love it. But anyways, guys, looks like that's all the time we have for this video. If you enjoyed today's content, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell for notifications. Thank you very much. We're getting up to 50 subscribers real soon. I think we're at 49, so I'm hoping we get another subscribe so I can finally be over 50 subscribers. I know it's a small channel, but I appreciate everything you guys do, and I really appreciate all the time you put in watching my videos, and I hope you enjoy the content, and I hope we can get more stuff for you coming out real soon. And that's all for now, folks.